Welcome everybody. Dave McCoid here, NZ Trucking Media, and I'm with Lindsay Wood, Resilienz, and I'm live in Thames and he's live in Nelson.
Hello there.
The marvels of modern technology, and we had a couple of failed attempts to get together to do the results of the Trucking Toward a Better Future competition, but they sort of failed dismally. And probably in the week the CCC report came out, it's probably a good idea that we've saved transport costs, Lindsay. And
Oh, I think so, Dave. We've just had the Climate Change Commission's report released nationwide. We're in the middle of a consultation by the MOT. I don't know whether everybody knows that, about transitioning to a low emissions economy. And then it was just a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? There was the Sustainable Business Council working with their freight section, that they produce a strategy too. So there's a lot happening in this space at the moment.
Yep, and we'll continue to do so. I think we're barely on the cusp of what needs to start and be done.
Oh, you're dead right. You're dead right there.
So as a lot of you will know, and all of you may know, is in the last few months we've been running our combined Trucking Towards a Better Future competition. And we developed our little crest and logo that you've seen on things, and little reminders and updates and things like that. The premise of the competition was basically it wasn't necessarily transport focused. It was actually tapping into the vast pool of knowledge that truck drivers amass and people in the transport industry amass by virtue of traveling around the economy. Truck drivers in particular see more of the economy than any other work task. They look into other people's worlds in the act of delivering and picking up, and they see things. And I'm, as many of you will know, and for those that don't, I'm the biggest truck driver cheerleader on two legs, and I'm a huge respecter of the street savvy, massive intellectual property that they always gather and talk about amongst themselves, and are always incredibly reluctant to release to the world. So we were trying to use Trucking Toward a Better Future competition to get that information out that I hear so often that would be so helpful.
And I think it's great, isn't it, that it's been billed as a think tank of 20,000 people, and it's exactly that. And it's not only a huge number of people, but people with their eyes in places that the rest of us don't ever see. And I think that's just a wonderful opportunity.
Yep. And one of the things, having come from within the industry from a very young age and hung around drivers all my life, is I knew it would be a tough gig. I knew it would be a tough ask. They are always incredibly forthcoming with their ideas amongst themselves, and incredibly non-forthcoming with their ideas in the wider community. Generally speaking, obviously there are exceptions, but generally speaking, that intellectual property stays in that little enclave of thought.
Can I chip in as a non-truckie, Dave, that I hope that will change, and I hope we can find ways of making it easy for people to contribute, because I really rate the insights and the thoughts of these people. You say they keep their idea in an enclave, but the world really needs these ideas out there if we can possibly find a way of getting that out.
Look, absolutely. If you paid a consultancy firm like EY or someone like that to go out and do an observation of everyone else's business in the world and write a report and come back to us with what you found out, it would cost you billions. Right, and yet truck driving is doing it all the time. They're doing it all, and so what we've got to do is figure out the reporting mechanism a bit better.
That's exactly right. And as I was just thinking about us recording this little Zoom session, I was thinking that the climate change, reacting to the climate change issue and decarbonisation is a long journey. And I was thinking, who knows long journeys better than the trucking sector?
Yeah, that's true too.
In a way, you know about keeping your concentration up and focusing on getting to the destination safely and so on.
Yeah.
And I saw quite a parallel there. So it's not only driving trucks we need help with from truckies, it's actually doing all the other shifts that we've got ahead of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And they can be a horrendous tall poppy brigade. Like if you do actually pluck up the courage to pop your chest up above the parapet and say something, you normally get that shot off the top within a few quick seconds. But they are an incredible pool of knowledge, and it's just a matter of eking that out. So we ran the competition. It was out there. We got entries. We were not expecting, and I warned Lindsay, I warned everyone involved in the competition. I said, this is going to be a 4 or 5 year journey for me. I'm not expecting the world to conquer the world on day one. And so, but we got entries, and we got some great entries. I was really thrilled. We didn't get a lot of entries. I'm expecting more entries in the future as we gather momentum, but we definitely got entries, and we got winners. Yep. And so how do we want to attack this, Lindsay?
Can I just frame a little bit out of the reports and things I've been reading lately, Dave?
Yep.
And I really think that the Climate Change Commission was probably watching the video clip that you and I did when we launched this competition, because one of the things they said is we've got to get this decarbonisation journey going quickly while we're waiting for the big things like hydrogen and electric trucks to get there. Now, that's exactly what we were saying 2 or 3 months ago, wasn't it? So they obviously listened to us. And that's what they're saying. There are 2 or 3 key messages that I got from that. One is get going soon, and especially with a focus on efficiency. It's got to be a widespread change, thinking big picture and small, and also an integrated approach, like you were talking about before. It's not only about driving trucks, it's about the things that truckies see. And all of those, I think, have a relationship with the entries we got.
Yep. No, absolutely. Yep. So do we want to go to the winners, or our
Well, should we start with, we've got a second place, haven't we? Shall we start there?
Yep, we have a second place, and the second place prize was it and the reason it got second place is it's a great idea, but you could argue that there's an element of it's already sort of being done a bit. But then you could argue that with the first prize as well, although this is potentially so the second prize was submitted by Federico Bono, and he's actually he's from Prospect Terrace in Mount Eden in Auckland.
Well done, Federico.
Yeah, well done, Federico. He takes away the second prize of $500. He didn't quite win the category prize because the winner won that same category prize as well. And Federico was around, his submission was around subsidies for old trucks, getting older, more polluted trucks off the road in favour of new trucks. Now, you could argue that the ruck incentive was doing that anyway, and we never quite got the level of how with that one. Like, it's great, yes, it's a great idea. Yes, it's a big picture. A lot of people have talked about it. What's your mechanism for delivering that, which we never quite got. But he certainly, he for what he did submit, it was enough to get him into second place. And you've got some comments around that, Lindsay.
I'd love to comment, Dave, because I think there are 2 or 3 things. One is that the Climate Change Commission in their very recent report has just flagged that New Zealand has about the oldest trucking fleet in the OECD. So Federico's idea of finding ways to renew that or to update it is completely valid. And as you mentioned, there are some other initiatives around. They're looking at quite a lot on the electric car space. But I know what I do for my own kids is I subsidize their getting their first electric car. I help them make up that cost difference. And from then on, it's a win. They're saving money, they're saving maintenance, they're saving emissions, which is what the big deal is. So I think Federico's initiative is actually really in that direction. And I think there's a big place for government to find. I mean, I can imagine interest-free loans or very low interest loans. So it's not just a handout, but it's a thing that people can help bridge that upfront cost and then get they're on a win financially operating then, and they can then pay back the loan out of the savings they make from their operation. So anyway, I think it's definitely in the right direction, even though, as you say, it would be nice to have a little bit more detail as to the mechanism he perhaps had in mind for that.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. So, yep, well done there. So should we get on to our winner?
Oh, I think we should. Yeah, I'm interested.
So, first of all, our winner is very much a truck driver. He's very much a truck owner. He's been doing it for a very long time. It was a great entry because it just hit the nail on what we'd wanted. It was a truck driver's view of the world, how to do something that is immensely practical, potentially simple, answers a lot of, just fixes a lot, or does fixes a lot of things, yes, maybe, but enhances a lot of things, makes life easier. I've seen this, they should do that, and boom, and the world's a better place. And it came from Alan Critchley in Auckland, and Alan used the Otaha Valley Road Northern Motorway interchange as his point of frustration with the steeply descending exit southbound and the steeply ascending on-ramp southbound as well. So southbound coming off from the north and southbound accelerating away south again. And said,
can I pull up a diagram of that, Dave?
Yeah, there you go. So there's the off-ramp north, coming from the north heading south. And as we all know, anyone that's driven loaded trucks realise that there is an inherent sense of natural, fundamental, primal unease with trying to bring 50 tonne to a stop downhill off a high-speed situation. And there's also a level of frustration trying to get 50 tonne rolling uphill and up to motorway speeds. And
so that's across the other side there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah, and so Alan said, when they build motorway interchanges like this, why, yes, they do so sometimes, but like this is a classic case where could they have thought more and actually made the on and off ramp so that you come off the motorway going uphill and use gravity to slow the truck and then use gravity to accelerate away at the other end, and it's really interesting because it's the old lip on the aircraft carrier sort of scenario with planes taking off, isn't it? Like if you actually add it up over the 100-year or 80-year life of the interchange, how much fuel is actually saved and energy is actually saved, allowing the truck to roll to a stop uphill and then use gravity to get it going. It would pay for the 100 times over, probably the extra cost of using that hill we can see in the background and put the interchange there and use the natural features of the hill rather than put it in a gully and then try and get 50 tonne to wheel up to a stop from 100 kilometres an hour heading downhill.
And can I throw in an extra comment there, Dave?
Yeah, go for gold.
You can see that orange line in there, and the point is that Alan's choice of the Otaha Valley Road intersection is great because you actually start on the off-ramp way up here. You can see a car on it, and so they're starting a lot higher than even the bridge down here. So they've got a lot of downhill before they even get to the underpass. And that makes it even worse. And you get coming into the top there and they've got to go all the way down there to get off it. So he's exactly right on this being a classic example.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And look, we're not saying they don't. We can think of lots of examples where they do actually do that. There's quite a few. Most of the ones down the new Waikato Expressway, a classic case is stopping at the top of the Bombay Hills, the old collision crossroads, whatever it's called now, the interchange thing, forgetting about the shambles you arrive at the top, but the actual approach. But it should be like an absolute 100% fundamental stake in the ground that if the motorway interchange is going in, we have to do everything we can to use the forces of nature to help slow up the vehicles and save a bit of fuel. But if you look at return on investment over life of the project, if that interchange there, that would be taking, I don't know, 20,000 cars a day or something. If every one of them saved a micro, a tiny amount of a litre, if you're looking for small things make a big differences with the environment, there's a classic example.
Oh, you're right. So, and you've just mentioned all the cars. It's not just the trucks that would be better off, it's all the other vehicles too.
Yeah.
And I think also there are things like safety issues as well, aren't there? There's wear on your brakes and the increased risk of some mishap down at the junction at the bottom and so on.
Yep. And it probably, if they have a cycle lane in there, it probably takes less calories to stop your bike if you can stop it up.
Well, that's coming, isn't it? So I'll stop sharing now, shall I, Dave?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks,
okay,
Lindsay.
Good one.
So Alan took away first prize of $1,000, and he also took away the big picture category prize, which is the same category that sort of
as Frederico's.
Was in, but we felt Alan's was a little more. he gave us a little more, and in terms of highway management, things like that. So yeah, so that's the result of year one. That's our yep. And like I say, the winning prize, they both hit the mark. The winning prize hit the mark absolutely on the nail, and Alan took away, $1,250 for his trouble, just for sharing an idea. And we'll be back again next year, won't we?
And can I chip in a couple of comments, Dave?
Oh, absolutely.
Firstly, I'd like to give a big shout out to Rod Carr and to Rod Oram and to Chris Carr, who kindly offered to do judging for us, and that's lovely to have people like that in the mix for us. And I also hope that people feel, this is a possible thing to have a go at next year. I think you were starting to talk about that, but we're both in this for the long haul, aren't we? And I think so. This is a long haul competition. And I think basically, hopefully, people realise that even these entries came in. They weren't rocket science entries. They were ones that just someone with a bit of observation and joining a couple of dots in their head thought, okay, there's an idea worth sharing here. So that's great.
Absolutely. And in terms of both, I mean, Frederico and I had a bit of toing and froing as trying to develop the details of the concept. But, Alan's idea came in on one A4 piece of paper, that's all. We're not looking for a 17-page report, and a few words and some pictures, and you're in the hunt. You're in the hunt for.
And a bit before, you commented on the fact that the trucking sector likes to keep these things fairly close.
Yeah.
And the tall poppy syndrome. And I think it's worth just reiterating something we said at the beginning. We want this competition to be a safe place for people to put ideas out. So when it comes round again, we're going to be very respectful. We're not going to bag ideas as being dumb or anything like that. We welcome every thought. They're all potential treasures.
Oh, look, 100%. Like, there's no, you've got no issues with sending an idea to a competition that I'm involved with in terms of the trucking thing, because like you won't get a bigger cheerleader for the intellectual property sitting in the cabs of trucks than me.
I can vouch for that. Dave's always a great champion of the industry.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Lindsay, for the whole thank you for right from the start when we first started. Because we're an unlikely duo of us allies, really.
That's half the fun, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So,
well, thank you too, Dave, and thanks also to all the people, because I know there was a lot of interest and conversation going on, even if it didn't always materialise in entry. So that's really cool, and I hope that we see this pick up momentum in the future. It's great to be involved.
Yep, absolutely. Excellent. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk again soon. And thank you, everyone, for entering. Those that did, fantastic. Have a big think. We'll see you early in the new year.